Good morning and good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation, Value First Nation, all of the nations. Welcome to another episode of Value First Measurement here with Danielle Urban. A bit of a spicy topic today. Danielle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about this one.
I am too. And just to make good, still hard to, overcome all of the traditional marketing tendencies. We've started a campaign around these principles related to measurement, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to finish this. So we're going to start with principle 7
All right.
from this framework, and then we're going to go pretty off script and talk about how it relates to loop marketing, because we're also good marketers at tying everything in the way we
I
want
was
to.
just gonna say, we're marketers at heart. We can't help but do the I got married and then posted on LinkedIn about how it's related to B2B sales. We'll get there.
Yes. Oh man, that's a topic for another day. Let me tell you. There's nothing wrong with learning lessons from everything around you, folks. All right. Anyways,
Focus.
principle 7 of the Value First Measurement Manifesto. We will focus on value realization over activity tracking. We believe what matters is the difference we make, not just what we do. We commit to measuring outcomes and impacts rather than activities and outputs, keeping our focus. I'm just going to share the screen here. I might as well, since I'm just reading it. Keeping our focus on actual value created rather than work performed. This means we will track metrics back to customer and business outcomes whenever possible, rather than measuring activity for its own sake. We'll ask, so what, about any metric that doesn't connect to value creation, rather than measuring everything that's measurable. We'll prioritize impact measurements over activity measurements, rather than focusing on input optimization. Create direct feedback loops with customers about value received, rather than assuming internal metrics that reflect customer experience. Regularly prune metrics that don't connect to actual value creation, rather than accumulating measurement complexity. And before we dive in, just an example of how we are barraged with the fact that metrics are just they're just not consistent. Like, digital metrics in general are getting so thrown all over the place right now. That's why there's a whole new framework to try and find some sense of certainty that we're not going to get. I'm looking at this, and these kinds of discrepancies I'm seeing every day. So this is the qualitative experience that I'm getting with metrics, especially as it relates to LinkedIn, right? So every day I'm in a view like this, and I see the post impressions, right? And I will see it go up, and I get excited, see it go down, like, oh my God, what's happening? And then I click on it, right? So past 7 days, 4,784. At the same time, I get a notification 56 minutes ago that says, oh, you got 6,244 impressions last week. I click on that. It's based on the date. At first, I thought I wasn't going to be able to find this number again, doing it myself. But I think what it highlights is that these numbers are updating in real time, right? And the difference between the start of today and right now is let's be traditional marketers and say it's 50%, right? And if we're reporting on numbers that are fluctuating this much, what are we doing? If we don't measure it at the same exact time, each day, or have some system hands off doing it for us so it's consistent, which then we're dehumanizing the process when we do that. It's the measurement that you want to be consistent and trust, and it's hands off. It's a myth, folks, right? And the loop marketing playbook, to HubSpot's credit, is designed to try and alleviate this situation that we find ourselves in where nothing in the past works anymore, like SEO. So as a marketing, leader, as like the thought leader, the person that we look to for best practices, they had to do something.
Right.
And I believe, like, if you frame it differently, which I have in my newsletter last week, it makes a ton of sense because it is like, it tries to get us all to the point of like, how do we stop looking at month to month, quarter to quarter, and start looking at this daily, minute to minute, because that's how fast everything is moving. I'm going to take a breath and give you a chance to say what's on your mind.
Yeah, well, a lot of us who've been in this industry, I know Brian DeAndrea posted this morning, like, we've seen this movie before. We've seen it go from the funnel to the flywheel and now to the loop. And if ascribe to a lot of the analyst things, then we've had the waterfall and the bow tie and we're just picking a different shape like once a year and trying to make something of it. So call me cynical, but it's all still like we just need to be good marketers and realize what matters in the moment, because you're right, it changes constantly. And the playbook that I was running when I was a little baby software marketer back in like 2013, 2014, some of the fundamentals matter and the things that I was trying to track then are easier to track now. But at the end of the day, like, that playbook just doesn't work. And so I think HubSpot's following that trend and understanding that like things change and trying to give the thought leadership that they know matters, and trying to sort of give people something new to align to in this new era. But it's the same thing. Like, we still need to just be good marketers and measure what we can in a way that's intelligent and just keep doing the things that tend to work out and tell the right stories at the end of the day.
Yeah. And there happens to be a ton of overlap between being a good marketer and being a good human.
Yes.
And guess, like, if you're going to give AI a choice of which one to serve up, and since this is all in the name of AEO, it's going to focus on the good humans because good humans talk about other good humans. Only good marketers talk about other good marketers. Nobody else talks about those people, right? Especially like customers. And I'm just going to pull up this visual just to kind of put in perspective. I wonder if can't click on this. All right. There we go. A little bit bigger.
Nice.
So as you can imagine, right out the gates, I'm just like, come on. Like, first of all, like, again, the outcome that we are looking for is what we need to achieve, which is basically always on, agile, always responsive, doing things in a scale we've never been able to do before.
Mm-hmm.
But when we start with express and it's focused on ourselves and our messaging and our like, how many times do we have to tell people to stop weeding all over the page? And now we're here with a new framework that tells you this is how you can do it at scale, folks. Like, help me out here, Danielle.
Yeah, I'm remembering a lot of the tools that we used to use for SEO back in the day, and there was that period of time that was sort of fleeting, or maybe it was sort of two different camps of thought, where you had things like Answer the Public, and we were trying to answer questions with our website to improve SEO, because there were marketers out there who were doing things like white on white words to try and keyword stuff things.
Oh,
And
man.
we would keyword stuff blog posts in a way that like they were completely unreadable because that's what we thought the robots wanted. But at the end of the day, the robots were trying to improve a human experience. And so Answer the Public and understanding what questions were being answered. And I remember when SparkToro first came out, which more people should pay attention to that. But SparkToro looks at sort of this audience graph, this interest graph of your potential website visitors or people you want to reach in your audience. where you can search, say, a keyword or a website and say, like, what else are they looking at? Where else are they consuming information? What are some popular subreddits that these types of people visit? And you get this massive report that tells you all of the different touch points that people might have with that subject, or the places that that human goes to consume information. And so when you start to put tools like that into place, then you can almost do personalization at scale. But at the end of the day, it's telling you that your target audience has a wide range of interests. And so the like human aspect of it still can't be overcome. And when you try to do that at scale, it's like, sure, you've got some clues and you can try to go to, the most popular areas. And especially if, Reddit and YouTube are feeding AI, at least we know that, so that we can answer questions on YouTube to the humans that are asking them. And now it's more available to the humans that are using that other channel, which happens to be whichever AI is your tool of choice these days. But like you're saying, it all comes back to, how do we optimize to be good humans that market to other humans? And I'm sounding more like George B. Thomas by the minute here, but like he's right.
I know. Like didn't take much for me to flip this article into
Yeah.
a value first perspective, because I find myself always come back to like value or value creation as like a first principle.
Yeah.
Like, and you could build everything on top of that.
Mhm.
And again, the outcome we're looking for is to be in the market, to be with the market you're trying to serve, because that's what you know makes it easy to speed all this up. And like, just to kind of finish what the framework is, if you haven't heard about it, it's express is about like clarifying your message. And this, again, a lot of this is reactive in what we've been seeing. And like, what they're trying to do with this is stop giving everything, like stop making all this content with AI without clarifying your message and your brand first. Sure, like that's super important.
Yeah.
But you know how easy that gets when you have like long form videos to pull from, and just that takes care of itself when you just monitor your people speaking out loud and interacting with each other.
Mhm.
And then you can turn your attention towards, customers. Are they able to express themselves, back to you? And do they understand what their problem is? All these things. Then you have TAILOR, which is about taking personal, to scale, on a page by on a person by person basis, right? Not personalize, like personal. This is where a ton of the old metrics just break in half. Like, my favorite example right now is open rates, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Talking
if
about.
you are using a prospecting agent that changes the subject line every single time, right? What is all open rate can tell you is whether or not the prospecting agent is a good idea. It's not going to tell you about which messages work, until you reach like a scale, that most businesses cannot achieve to make it statistically significant,
Yeah.
right? And we've got Amplify, which again, it was about being in the market and using all these channels, but then relying on influencers like outside of your organization.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, what we've been doing here at Let's Build and Profoundly and Value First, it's like subject matter experts. It's never been easy to be. It's never been easier to be an influencer yourself. And it's on the table for any subject matter expert in any business.
Yeah.
And then when you take that person and it's actually somebody internal, Evolve gets so much more effective, so much faster, because you're not having to interact with a third party to understand the insights. And this is why LinkedIn is my favorite thing to teach. When you can go through this process, let's say a HubSpot product manager that's active on LinkedIn, like somebody posts a problem or a love of a product, now they're right there and they interact in the comments, and that's them like doing this process, right? And my hope is that, can we get to a place where our measurement is like, how many times were we able to do that? Like, have a subject matter expert engage directly in the comments, Because what we need to emulate, and this is why the moral of my story is just stop trying to do this, because there's a whole, that engagement happened for 3 days straight at Inbound with us as subject matter experts, with the whole product team. And how much of that do you think is making it into the CRM?
Yeah.
Like zero.
I can tell you. I was dragging my feet on even importing any of my badge scan things because I was like, that's not what this is for. I don't want to do that. But it's funny because you're reminding me of a moment I had at Inbound where I love to hang out at the product demo stations for so many reasons. Like, one, I get to hang out with the product managers who are geniuses building these things for us to use. They love my feedback, usually. I get to learn about things just while I'm standing there. And then I get to hear from other users who are tackling problems that I never would encounter in my work. And one stuck with me where we were trying to figure out how this guy could create a tiered system based on a Shopify integration to assign his affiliates or his like downstream people in his business to various tiers as sellers. And it's stuck with me and I like couldn't let it go. And I found him on LinkedIn and sent him a message and was like, did you think about lead scoring? And I'm just like, I can't stop because I want to just think through those problems. But we were talking with two different product managers. I inserted myself into their conversation and was like, did you think about this? Did you try this? Can I click on your computer and try things? But that kind of magic, like I am technically a business co-founder. Like I run a business that I need to build leads for. That guy may never want to talk to me again, but that's fine because I got to try a challenging problem. And I got so much out of that. Hopefully he got something out of it too. The product managers got something out of that. And we could build that into more conversations. We can say, oh, do you need to create tiered, sellers or tiered assessment for your customers? Here are different ways that you could do that. I could turn around and turn that into content because it's helpful to at least one person. And the more I put it out there, I'm talking about it today in a video, there's channel 1. If I post about it on LinkedIn, there's channel 2. If I go answer questions in a Slack community, there's number 3. And not all of that, none of that will get pulled into metrics. Like I didn't even consider that guy a lead. We just had a great conversation. But it all adds up to like, you just need to be helpful. My mantra as a marketer for years has always been be the most helpful person in the room. Even if that means you're standing next to your competitors and saying, yeah, they're better at this. You just need to be helpful because it always comes back around.
Yeah. And that's where so I think in organizations where the marketing team, the marketing organization owns all communications, like internally, externally, like they should, because they're the communications experts. Why is that not the case in every organization? I don't know. But because my favorite definition of marketing is all two-way communication, like between a business and its customers, right? For those organizations, loop marketing is going to kill, right? Because the challenge is that you mentioned funnels, flywheels, and now the loop. Thing is, none of those replace each other. Like they all work together still. And we just need these diagrams and these these playbooks to help process as humans, like what's happening and who's doing what when in reality, none of them apply to like human behavior. And we see the real maps are like all over the place. They're like spider webs, literally. And if you can understand that, it works in the organizations where marketing owns it all, because marketing is going to apply it in a specific way at the top of the funnel, at the middle of the funnel, at the bottom of the funnel, for customer marketing, like all these different layers, which was how I talked about it in this newsletter. Like each stage needs that level of agility. And the fact is, you're talking to the same person. If you talk to them throughout that journey, they care about different things, like throughout the whole journey. And if you're still up here in marketing and this is our messaging and this is what's getting traction online, and then you try to apply it to somebody who's about to close a deal, it's not gonna work. Worse, the new person who doesn't know anything about you is going to hear that. It could, like, you've seen it where it's like, oh, this worked for this stakeholder type, like the non-technical person. But then you tell it to the technical person, they're like, okay, risks everywhere. We're stopping this deal right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't apply that level of agility throughout the entire process, it's only going to work at the top level, which then is it actually working? Like, we're seeing like all the things that it's trying to help with as far as moving away from MQL focus and SEO and all of these old metrics, it puts you right back in there, right? And another example to help make this a little more practical, and like why it does apply. And I think at the end of the day, you don't have to get all your ducks in a row in express stage before you start doing this, right? If you think about what it means to express yourself, if you can get your team doing that, which they're doing every day on their one-to-one sales calls, in team meetings, sometimes on LinkedIn, text or video, right? You get a lot from that. And it allows you to move forward at the pace that we're talking about. We, Casey and I did a bunch of, updates content last week and the week before. But it was actually our morning show where we talked about the app events, right? And I don't hold back when I think product update cards are super confusing, right? Because I know other people are reading that and it's super confusing too. We won't talk about segments on today's show. We'll focus on app events, which used to be timeline events. And I'm running through this events laden, and I'm visibly like distraught, like as I'm doing it. Well, the product manager, Maggie Philbin, who saw that.
We love her. She's the best.
Right. She saw that and reached out to me. Like, hey, I love that you're covering it, but it was kind of cringy, like when you're having issues, and it's an issue they know about, right? So imagine if, for whatever reason, they would have tried to polish that product update, like in some kind of way without us, right? This exchange never happens. And then what happens, we get on an unboxing where we actually talk through it and can explain more, right? And at that point, she's an SME working directly with an influencer and then taking the feedback like right back to the team about where it's confusing. And that, oh man, like that is on the table for almost every company that exists. Yeah. There's somebody that is a subject matter expert in the thing that you do. They're probably crushing it inside of sales one-to-one meetings. How do you let them out? Because there's a ton of people that they could interact with that will create this kind of cycle that everybody's looking for.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see some of that shift because, again, way back when I was a little baby software marketer, we launched a like engineering forum type thing, like question and answer type space. It was funny as a marketer because we were like, ask us questions. And people were like, okay, I don't have questions right now. But we worked with our engineering team to have them in there. We created like a company Reddit where it was like, you come and ask questions, very technical questions that I, as a marketer and a business manager, will never understand. But our engineers do because they're building it and they care about what you think. And so we created that forum and just slapped some marketing branding on there and slapped some metrics on it that we were trying to understand at the time just to see if it was worth paying for the tool. But we created that bridge and apparently we were ahead of our time. But we've seen that more now where that used to be a big company thing where we invested resources. We created the platform. We invested marketing time to make it branded. I literally baked cookies for the engineering team to try to bribe them to answer questions in there. Like we invested a lot as a strategy into this thing that is just so natural now because we have LinkedIn as a forum. And so I think we're seeing that shift though, where you don't have to have all those resources. You can just be agile and give your whole company the freedom to like answer the freaking questions. Like if you see it and you can't answer it, then tag someone who can. so that that person gets the help that they're looking for, gets the answer they need. And I think we as subject matter experts hanging out in Slack communities all day see these types of questions all the time. Someone saying, I'm trying to accomplish X. What tools should I use for it? How do I use this tool to accomplish that? And I love jumping into those conversations because I like solving problems. We've established this and I get really nosy. But it's really fun to see how different people will tackle the same problem and answer the same question in different ways, or show up with different levels of expertise and still have something to add to the conversation. It could be someone who's brand new, and because they're brand new, they have a different perspective on it. And like, that's really awesome to see. So as long as you are enabling everyone in your organization to show up, then we get to that express stage. And maybe there's some brand voice consistency you can do there, but even still, you don't have to like media train every single one of your employees. You just have to teach them, hey, we show up, we answer questions honestly. And when you don't have the answer, you try to tag someone who can, because that projects a culture of helpfulness.
Yeah. And that's, man, and you combine that culture of helpfulness, which is the part that's holding everybody back when you're focused on KPIs and scoring, and like you're literally not helpful because you're focused on how all the metrics like work together. Maybe you're helpful for the board, but honestly, this is not helping them either, right?
Yeah, they want to make money.
Right. And like you match that culture of helpfulness with the scalability of AI, right? That's what makes this work, because you don't worry. You don't even have to worry about your tone and coaching and all that stuff when AI can pull out sentiment analysis like better than you could, like behavioral understanding, like the intent signaling, the signals that are available to us now in HubSpot can actually tell a complete story, based on true behavior inside of calls, inside of all this unstructured data, where even though a lot of it's represented through scoring mechanisms, like until we remove the like human bias, which is why some of these scores like health scoring, like is largely without, humans building infrastructure. Until we remove all that bias, it's going to be curious to see how this plays out. And it could be, I think it could be this simple. Like if you're serious about wanting to like have success, like with AEO, right? Like this is how simple it is, in my opinion. 2 books, two frameworks. This is endless customers. Like they ask you answer, 3.0 basically, where it's just, are you out there answering customer questions? Like do that. And then we'll get to like all of the nuance and trying to, figure out how to be influential, how to trick the mind into doing things, right? No, this is what helpful looks like. And Day Trading Attention, which is the only Gary Vee book that I ever listened to. Last year was at the perfect time because I was almost 3 months into doing the daily Let's Builds, right? So all I needed was permission from somebody like Gary Vee to say like I'm doing the right thing. And if you can do it, if you can do this while showing up every day, you will dominate like AEO, because you will be showing up in a way that nobody else thinks they can or doesn't have the will to. And it was so powerful, like to listen to this last year, as you can imagine. Like his message is basically like, you don't have to show up every day, but know that this is now the game. And if you choose not to play it, that's on you. Like when that starts to hurt your business.
Yeah.
And this is the opposite of the traditional marketing structure of old, the campaign planning, the 3 months planning, right? Like, and it shouldn't be any more obvious than a couple of data points. And that is like when our emails just all of a sudden don't get to people who want it, who have given us permission, who have signed up for the webinar, and somehow Google got in the way and didn't even put the webinar on their calendar, right? And then you hear about it after and they're sad. That's a system like failure. And there's nothing you can do. It's so hard to overcome that challenge because Google's in charge. Like you're not, right? I don't care if your email it. Great job on the email list. You do not own email as a channel. Okay. And I forgot the second thing. Like
it's okay. You've definitely made your point. Like you all that to say, call your friendly neighborhood marketing ops person and make sure that you know what they're working on and that they're plugged into your systems. But I think the overarching point there of like showing up every day, how that relates to the loop in, being everywhere with personalization. I came into this conversation thinking like the loop is just another gimmick. And I'm leaving that conversation a little bit softer on that front because we can tie some of this back. Like if you were to assume the best of our new loop model, then you could actually say that it supports some of our value first evangelizing. Because if you enable your team to get out there, and by enabling, it's really just creating the culture of permission. There's no big work that needs to be done to make your team available to the general public as a brand ambassador. That's express in the loop. Like get them out there, tell them it's okay to go have those conversations. If you want to build support tools, great, build them like an internal brand AI that they can ask questions to, come up with a better answer. Maybe that would help a lot of people get over that initial hump of putting themselves out there. And then you flex that muscle, you get more comfortable with it. Then getting to the tailor stage, personalization at scale, that's your whole company. That's your engineers showing up on Slack communities, Discord groups, LinkedIn, Reddit, and answering the questions about the thing they're building. That's Maggie Philbin watching your live stream and having another conversation with you. That's tailoring it because it's personalized to what the individual asking needs, and you're being able to answer it at the level that they need. And then amplify, like, I don't build your company, get more people out there. Like we're just keep doing it. Have people show up where they're most comfortable. Like I said, Reddit, Discord, YouTube, LinkedIn, Slack, like all of these different places, the people that are asking the question, like the audience that is on that channel that is asking a question is likely the same audience in your organization that can answer that question. Like nerds like to hang out in the same places. I know this because I do it. Like I know my people are on LinkedIn and Slack. And I know that when Sprocketeer was on Discord, I never was in there and was never going to get in there. But now they're on Slack, so we all hang out in there. But then Evolve is like, okay, maybe you can get to a point where you're tracking this, or there's some sentiment analysis, or you see that impact on your bottom line, that people are showing up everywhere, that your team being out there and being known as helpful. Like if they see a headline that's like, I don't know, profoundly pro, you know that they're going to show up and answer your questions with a depth of knowledge that only a profoundly pro could bring to that conversation. And so you end up with this trust and understanding that you can build on top of. Like you're building a brand, which is all that we want to do, by applying value first and looking at it through the loop lens. See, we did bring it full circle. We said we would. Yeah. We're such good marketers.
And I have a sinking feeling that like this loop thing came from somebody having an idea of human in the loop. How do we start marketing to that? And if that's the case, like all the credit in the world, like, because like, I think Yamini ended her talk with human in the loop, right? We just lean into that. Like, please don't try to put like,
it's not
all
marketing.
humans, like
people,
right? They all want to be in the loop, but it's very important, like how and when. And as we wrap, so I know this is a thing in a lot of industries, but definitely to my industrial manufacturing friends, the successful companies always have a guy or a girl that they know if they can get on the call at the right time, they're closing that deal every single time, right? They pride themselves on the expertise, like category wide, like the smartest people in the world on this thing, right? but they wait until they get on the sales call. Those are the people that if you put them out in public, which you already do, it's just that in-person events and technical meetings and all these other places, you get them on video. That's what we're talking about. It's doing things they're already doing just in a new venue. And now, even if they're not available for that sales call,
Their
that
knowledge.
video is ready for the salesperson to share in that moment. And that is like powerful. You mentioned known to be helpful,
Mhm.
right? The first part of that is known, right? You can't be known to be helpful unless you're known.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of measurement situation where when I go to inbound, and it took me a while to figure out how to be okay with this, right? When I go to inbound and people say, I see your beard on my feed all the time, right? I learned last year that probably means they've never seen any content that I've ever done. They just remember the beard, which that's
Sure.
known, right? That's
Yeah.
no. If we're talking about know, like, trust, that's checkbox number one, right? Of those three checkboxes. Now it creates a space for those moments at inbound where I don't have to introduce myself. And every salesperson loves that. Every subject matter expert loves that, right? And that's what we're talking about. When you show up inside of the market, right, as opposed to going to the market and trying to apply your will, it's just all this stuff becomes immediately accessible.
Mhm.
And since I saw it yesterday, I got to end on this. Like somebody was talking about their new agent that could go like and tell people how well they're doing in AIEO, as this person put it.
Okay.
Like, how are we okay with that acronym at this point? But anyways, like they said, I'm sure some agencies could get customers to pay them $5,000 a month for what this agent does. So please, if you're a user or a customer, do not pay any agencies for AEO like measurement. Please, if you're thinking about that, if you think it's a really good deal and it's really high value, please drop us a line and we will help you know where to look to not pay somebody $5,000 to do something on your behalf. I'm sorry, all you SEO firms that are trying to flip into AEO firms. But I can't allow it, at least without saying something. I'm sure I can't stop it, but I'm going to do everything in my power to try. That's why we're here talking about
Marketing.
value first measurement. Any final words today, Danielle?
The thought I keep coming back to is like there are people out there who are experts in their fields who can look at trends and come up with things like the loop. And I love that for them. They're very good at their jobs, and I am so not that person. I'm like surprised by a marketing conversation every time I have it. I'm very good at operations, like how do the pieces fit together, but that like a zoom out, assess, define, I commend the people who are working on that. Nice job.
Yes, we do need some kind of framing, and
Yeah.
it did help on a recent like sales process. Just understand that while it started with, I need to implement the loop marketing playbook. Everything after that was the usual stuff. I need to do more content. I need to do more video. I need to clean up my data. I need to integrate systems, like all of it. I was like, oh, okay, well, at least they help you send this email like in a meaningful way, because otherwise, loop marketing, again, we're just doing all of the other stuff to like achieve that.
Yeah.
We got to wrap though. Thanks for going along with me today. We will continue this journey next week to try to keep you on the straight and narrow with all this measurement stuff, so that you don't have to pay $5,000 for people suggesting they can do AEO for you. Until next week, Danielle.
See you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.